Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
If it's me you want to talk to, perhaps we can arrange a meet.
Where are you now?
I'm sitting in my office.
I doubt that.
And why would you doubt that?
If you were in your office right now, we'd be having this conversation face to face.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show on the 1st of August 2016. We are live on Spreaker. If you're listening to us live in the bottom right hand corner, you can always join us in chat, little speaker icon in the bottom right hand corner. You can click on and chat to us that way, give us feedback, let us know your views on the show, and let us know your views on things that are coming up in this show. So we are now more than halfway through the year. We've got average. We get about maybe 6 or 7 films on a weekly show, wouldn't we? Yeah. But this week we don't have that many. We really don't have that many. In fact, it was going to be even less until you managed to find a couple of other extra ones for the DVD section.
Yeah. That's indicative of the cinema on Friday just gone and Friday coming up as well, because nothing wants to go up against Suicide Squad this Friday, so there's pretty much nothing else out on Friday. Yeah,
we're getting pretty much one big film each week, although we got a couple this week. So we'll go through them. And what have we got this week, shall we see?
Well, it's something in around about 10-15 years in that gap there, difference between Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. So it's sort of like the pseudo-sequel of sorts with Finding Dory, and we also have another sequel, the 5th in the Bourne series, but the 4th starring, directed by Paul Greengrass and starring Matt Damon, with Jason Bourne.
Yeah, and of course then, as usual, before that bit of news, top 10 in the cinema, and then in DVD and Blu Ray we'll have the DVD and Blu Ray chart, along with these new releases, including, well, one of them might be a little bit bigger than the others, you might have heard of it.
Yeah, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Couldn't be any longer. Actually, I'm going to make it longer as well.
Yeah, the film could be longer and so could the title.
I've seen it in 4K as well. So it is Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition 4K version.
Okay.
Oh, that's a mouthful. And then we have over-the-top action with Hardcore Henry, and then rounding out the show, comedy sequel with My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and small little British horror film In the Unfolding.
Before that, of course, though, we're going to get into some news in just a second. As I said, if you're listening to us live, then you know how to do to join us. If you're not listening to us live, though, of course, there's places you can reach us and details and things you can find out about the show on our main website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can find us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. And you can email us as well, which is mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. So let's get on to this week's show, obviously, with some movie news. I've only got one this week, but you've got, as usual, a ton of them, just to embarrass me how many there are.
Yeah, you would think that I have had absolutely nothing to do at all over the week, would you? Considering that I have got like 7 extra pieces of news on top of that.
Yeah, this is the first week when I'm finally getting back to being in one place for a lot more of the week, though.
Yeah, well, I've had a 60-year working week and then a christening, so that's killed me.
The christening did it?
No, just everything did it. So I wasn't expected to work at an extra day, because I normally only work 5 days, and the place where I work, we only open 6 days, so I had to do a full 6 days, and then the day after it was a christening. So I did. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that means you're loaded then.
No. I wish.
Right, my piece of news is actually a new piece, just broke this evening. Bit of casting news about Channing Tatum and Gillian Bell, who both been seen together recently in 22 Jump Street, will be starring together in a remake of Splash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The original film, if anyone doesn't know, was the 1980s film directed by Ron Howard that starred Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. And in the original film, Daryl Hannah played a mermaid who is found and falls in love with Tom Hanks' character and blah 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 blah. This is the thing that they're doing interesting or not. I don't know that it'd be interesting to see how it works out, but what they're doing this time, changing things around, it's going to be Channing Tatum that is playing the mer character. He's going to be a merman in the film instead of it being Gillian Bell as the mermaid. What do you think of that?
Okay. Yeah, a lot of them. I can see a lot of people being in uproar or on Facebook, Twitter, etc., going, "Oh my God, I can't believe that they're switching roles around and blah de blah de blah." Same kind of problem they had with the female version of Ghostbusters, etc., etc. But who cares? To be honest, who cares if they've come up with a decent script and they want to just make a change to it? Switching roles around, at least they're not actually just doing a straightforward remake. They're just making it slightly different where they're role reversing. So, and how many times have we seen men play the women parts, or in this case a merman? How many times have we seen mermans on screen? The last one was Cabin in the Woods. I can't remember another merman after that. After that, I think Cabin in the Woods was the last merman I see.
I think the last time I saw a mermaid, that was just recently in The Nice Guys.
I haven't seen The Nice Guys yet, but yeah, merman. The last time it was represented, it was in Cabin in the Woods in a gory fashion. So,
Yeah, no, it wasn't that gory in for a mermaid. In I think it was graphic, but it wasn't gory.
I don't see Channing Tatum actually go over the top of somebody and then eat them, and then the blood splurt out from the top of them.
I think that is a bit excessive. What
news?
News?
Cabin in the Woods one. So.
Yeah. What news have you got?
It's been confirmed that director Joe Carnahan has been brought in by Sony and Naughty Dog to rewrite the script for the Uncharted movie. Carnahan took to Twitter where he said, "I want to get with @naughty_dog, get that right, and make sure we line things up creatively and Uncharted. Hugely important to me, gotta make creators happy." He's also directing Bad Boys 3 as well, Joe Carnahan.
Yeah, I did hear about that. I remember now you said it. I was like, oh yeah, I did see that, and for some reason I didn't note it down.
He's not directing the Uncharted movie. He's only writing the script for it.
He's just too busy apparently with them. But the thing is, it's interesting. I do think Joe Carnahan's actually a pretty good writer. I do think there's been these problems with the Uncharted film where it keeps stalling and having problems and stuff, and it's one of these films that's been in production hell forever, it seems. As for Bad Boys 3, now that's interesting. He's definitely got the skill for that. If anyone who's seen Smoking Aces could see that he can, and even A-Team, he can do good action pieces. The great not so much action sequences, but he can definitely do good stuff.
Intensity.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't have a problem with him on either of those fronts. It's interesting though that Michael Bay is not going to be directing Bad Boys 3, because Bad Boys has been kind of his baby, and he was really wanting to do it and everything, and he's been talking about that he wants to do it. So something's changed and he's not doing that now. Obviously he's doing more Transformers films. But
producer probably.
But for him to step away, I'm actually quite surprised at that. There's not been any big thing made about him leaving it, because it's been his film franchise. I think he did a good job on the Bad Boys films.
Yeah, I know, but the gap between Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys 3, and look what Beer has done since Bad Boys 2 up to when Bad Boys 3 will come out. He's had a slew of absolutely panned movies apart from the first Transformers film.
But even then, I think that 13 Hours was very underrated. I think 13 Hours was actually his best film probably since The Rock.
I still think it was a pile of steaming, smelly turds.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong most of the time, but that doesn't put in the fact that I didn't like the film. So, yeah, it's a bad film. But he hasn't done anything decent since Bad Boys 2. So it's been that big of a gap, and having Beer to come back to do the third one in the series, give it to somebody else. Give it to some different director who's supposedly good at directing action films. So somebody else instead.
Who would you recommend then?
Well,
who's your favourite action director? If it wasn't Joe Carnahan, who would you recommend?
Action is not my genre.
No, but you must have. What's your favourite action film?
Oh God, I'm having to plug into my brain to try and think of a decent action film I've seen over the last year.
Even longer than that, then.
Yeah, again, I have to plug into my brain to pull out an action film that I liked in the last 5 years.
Okay.
It's really difficult because, like I said, action is not my genre. It's like comedy. I don't seem to have a funny bone.
I would say then, if it's going to pick anyone else who's doing things now, I would probably say Anton Fuqua.
Possibly. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I could see him do something like that.
He's definitely got the skill and the knowledge to step away from something as bad as Olympus Has Fallen sequel, London Has Fallen.
Yeah, that's true. Denis Villeneuve might have a decent crack at it to try and do something with a bit more grit to it. So it depends on what kind of route they want to go down with it. But yeah, like I said, action, not my genre. During an interview with Metro, Kiefer Sutherland confirmed that the Flatliners reboot is in fact a sequel. In the interview, Sutherland said, "I play a professor at the medical university. It is never stated, but it will probably be very clearly understood that I am the same character I was in the original Flatliners, but that I have changed my name and I've done some things to move on from the experiments that we were doing in the original film."
So it's going to be one of these pseudo sequel reboot thingy that they're doing at the moment now. Seems to be all the rage.
Well, it's definitely a sequel. It's not like a reboot sequel or any kind of amalgamation of those words together. It is just a straightforward sequel, so it is Flatliners 2.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see what that's like when that comes out. Because again, the gap is even bigger from Flatliners to Flatliners 2. So I sort of like, it's annoying, isn't it, when they make a sequel to a movie that was made like 25 years ago. Do you think it's a good idea to come back and make a sequel to that movie?
It's just a lot of the thing of the original films is I would say the nostalgia, because at the time they did well, but now the problem is you're comparing the new films to the nostalgia of the original ones, and it doesn't live up to it.
Yeah, because if you look, for example, with the Wicker Man, he released a sequel some like 30 years later with the Wicker Tree. And the Wicker Tree is awful. I think the biggest gap between the original film and sequel is The Wizard of Oz to Journey Back to Oz. Because The Wizard of Oz came out in the 1930s, Journey Back to Oz came out in the late 80s. So it's like over 50 years gap for a sequel. So, but I actually like Journey Back to Oz, so that's a big huge gap there. It worked for it. Meryl Streep is in talks for a role in Mary Poppins Returns, which, if people can't guess, it is the sequel to Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
The deal has not been closed yet, but if she will be in the film, she'll be playing a new character called Topsy, a cousin of Mary Poppins. Which Mary Poppins is going to be played by Emily Blunt.
No, Emily Blunt's just wrong for it. I don't have nothing against Emily Blunt, but when I look at her and I think her, I do not think Mary Poppins. I don't know.
Yeah, but she is playing Marin Poppins.
Marin Poppins, yeah.
I haven't a clue who Marin Poppins is. Maybe he's the long lost uncle. But she is playing Mary Poppins, Emily Blunt. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Disney are hitting the remake button again. This time it's The Rocketeer. However, with a twist. The Rocketeer will be an African-American woman. The only information about the project is that it's going to be written by Max Winkler and Matt Spicer and will be called The Rocketeers.
There's been kind of dispute over this, whether or not it is going to be a reboot or sequel, or one of these ones again that is like a new franchise thing that's going to obviously reference to the first film or something. I don't think it's going to be a direct remake of it, because obviously if you remember the first one, I do love the first one. It is I forget his name now, who directed it, who went on, Joe Johnston, that directed Captain America as well, and you can see in the two films he's got that feel for that era, for the 60s. Is when he did Rocketeer was set, and it's a great film. I really do love it. I think it was very, very it was very poorly received at the time, but it's gone to be a cult film. And a sequel to that, if they're going to do a sequel, it doesn't have to be set in the 60s. They can do one and have it set, a decade later or something, and it'll be fine. I don't know if they'd have it set present day, because it would just be kind of a bit too much like Marvel films or something. But if it was a bit older one, then 80s, 90s.
Yeah, but again, prepare for the internet to go uproar in arms and stuff like that, going, an African American woman is going to be playing the Rocketeer. So who cares? As long as it's a good film, who cares?
They should cast Leslie. Is it Jones? No.
Yeah, from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Leslie Jones. I was thinking about Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, but they should just cast Leslie Jones just to basically give everyone who's going to have problems with basically give them the middle finger.
Yeah, the metaphorical middle finger.
Yeah.
I've got two pieces of news. I'm going to leave the next one I was going to do to the last because it actually will make you happy. But the second to last piece of news is Michael Biehn has confirmed that he is returning to play Corporal Hicks in Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5.
If it ever
also
happens.
Confirmed, a more older Newt will appear in the film, and dropped hints that a concept art looks a lot like Jennifer Lawrence. I was going to say Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lawrence. So Newt is going to be about 28 in the film.
Right, in that case then, because I mean they're going to have to explain obviously that Sigourney Weaver does look older. It's been that long since the second Alien film. Michael Biehn obviously looks older, so they're going to have to do that. And I don't know, because Carrie, what her name is, that played the original Newt, although she's been obviously in public and everything now with the whole, they had the thing at Comic-Con and everything, and she was there. So she's been, I don't know that she's interested in doing acting, because she never went on to have an acting career after doing that. She left acting and didn't pursue it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they find someone else now and bring them in, and it'll just be a case then, if that's the case, what the film will do is it will show obviously them having been in sleep, hypersleep for so long that they have aged a bit or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I think it'll work for obviously Sigourney Weaver at a push, saying that she's like 30 years older than a character Ripley, and it'll work for Michael Biehn. Will it work for the original one who played Newt, Carrie Henn? So maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody although I see, the thing is, I don't know that Jennifer Lawrence, after having dealt with the Hunger Games films, I don't think she'll want to sign on for something that is big and potentially could have, further films then down the line. Because if anything, what the studio will try and do is they'll try and spin it off then, and it'll become, Sigourney Weaver will be killed off, and then it'll become Newt's story, and then it'll become a new series, and Jennifer Lawrence will not want to do another big multi-series franchise thing after all.
The thing is, though, the where it's actually the struggle of trying to get Alien 5 onto the screen anywhere, I doubt they'll actually do that. And Carrie Henn is now 46, so I think will be a bit too old to play a slightly more older version of Newt.
That's a big part of it, yeah.
So with Sigourney Weaver, yeah, she is getting on in age as well, but she does not look her age. And
no, she doesn't look as old as that, yeah.
Yeah, so you can add like 20-25 years on top of a character. Final piece of news is Brexit might have brought in a lot of worry amongst people, especially people who are interested in film, because it looks like the British movie industry might be hit with around about £150 million loss every single year. However, there is one film which we should be both happy about that is not getting made at the moment. It's actually being put on hold because of the Brexit problem. The sequel to Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, is officially being put on hold because Brendan O'Carroll, who plays Mrs. Brown's Boys, has stated that he is finding it really difficult to get funding for the film because of Brexit.
It's not because of Brexit, it's because the first one was a word that I shall restrain myself from using on the show, because we don't do that.
Yeah, but the film itself made £26 million at the UK box office on a budget of about 3 million. So it made its money back in spades. So
then why could they not take some of that 26 million, take $1 million of it and make it?
Because probably most of it went to Brendan O'Carroll, and so now he's greedy and he doesn't want to use the money that he got from that film, and so he's turning around going, we're gonna have to wait for this Brexit thing to die down a little bit, see what the state of the movie industry is next year for British film, and then just go via that, because I doubt Film 4 would want to fund that a new Mrs. Brown's Boys movie, and I don't think the BBC would now as well, considering that they are supposedly moaning about the licence fees and the fact that they're shelling out an extra £150 million a year. So
I don't think it's anything to do with Brexit. I think it's the fact that it's just like trying to milk it for everything you can get, because it's now got a new lease of life with this whole live show thing they did on television, isn't it? Which was so. I mean, I think it's them thinking, oh, we don't want to go to the film again because the films is generally where a comedy series goes to die. When you release a film in the cinema, that's it. So I think that they're going, now we're not doing it now. We'll milk it for a bit more now, and do another series or something.
The reason behind him. That's what Brendan O'Carroll has said. It's said it's down to Brexit.
No,
because the fact that he can't get funding for the film.
Okay. Moving on then. Box office top 10.
Number 10 is Now You See Me Too.
Yeah, which is okay. It's more the same sequel. It's the whole thing of the problem that the first one had was the whole thing of the movie magic and not actual magic, or even just fake magic, obviously the cards and things like that. And it's one of those ones that you're watching it and you kind of get annoyed because you go, I wish they had kind of done that for real, or had done something special or they haven't. You look at it and you go, well, that's obviously movie magic. That's not really happening or something, and it just makes it feel fake.
Yeah, I think it's actually weaker than the first one.
Yeah, apart from the card sequence in the heist sequence in the middle, it is, that sequence is really good, but it is a sequence that goes on for about 5 minutes longer than it should.
Number 9 is absolutely fabulous, and the only reason why I'm speaking like that is because I tried to take a drink of water and I went down the wrong hole. So number 9 is absolutely fabulous, the movie. Yeah,
it's not absolutely fabulous, it's not even fabulous, it's just abs. It really is abs, because it's absent of humour. I didn't think it was particularly funny. I know people have said that they think it's funny, and they're saying to me, I've had someone say to me, oh, you didn't like the series. I'm like, I wasn't a fan of the series, but I'll admit the series was funny. The film isn't. The film was just flat. I watched it, I laughed once at a joke in it, and the joke is in the trailer that made me laugh as well, and it's not funny. It's literally another TV movie of a comedy, a British comedy, that is just an excuse to get loads of cameos of people that they know and famous people to basically show how successful they've been and go on holiday somewhere nice and warm.
Number 8 is Ice Age Collision Course.
I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, it's a series that had enough in there to last one film and a push 2 films, not 5. It uses the Scrat character more in this movie, and it uses the excuse that Scrat was the one responsible for the end of the world catastrophe that goes in the very loose and lacking story. It's just, there's nothing fun and funny about the film itself. Even the Scrat stuff is grated beyond belief now, and so it's a movie that there's going to be another one released in a few years' time, because they think that there's an audience out there, and by the looks of what it's taken at the box office over here, actually across the globe as well, it's a series that pretty much now just needs to be laid to rest. Number 7 is The Legend of Tarzan, which is really a mess of a film. There's aspects of it which don't fit at all.
I think Stellan Skarsgård. Stellan Skarsgård is the main character, but he kind of isn't perfect for Alexander Skarsgård. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up, father and son. And
I definitely wouldn't want to see Stellan Skarsgård in like a loincloth.
No. Oh, you haven't seen the last film with him and Ewan McGregor, the spy one. But it's Tarzan is. It's basically, it's got a mix of all these elements in there. You've got Samuel L. Jackson playing a character that just feels completely out of place and wrong. You've got all these things, and it just doesn't come together at all. It's a mess.
Including the CGI, and David Yates, who was the director of the last few Harry Potter films, he's the one who helmed this. You would expect something much better from a director like that.
Yeah.
It's a messy film. Number 6 is Secret Cinema Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, we just don't really discuss these as a couple, isn't it?
2 million just from it. It's seeing that.
But that's going to be what, the £80 tickets or something, isn't it?
£85 tickets. But yeah, it's taken an insane amount. Number 5 is The Secret Life of Pets.
Which is a fine animation film. It's nothing exceptional, but it is fun. It's witty. It's got that ingenuity in the characters and in the world and the design and things, and that's what I think makes it so fun and enjoyable, and why it's taken £28 million. And
an insane amount at the US box office as well, so it just shows you that original IPs can strive in the world of copious sequels and remakes. and it's nice for a company to actually come up with the original ideas and something different rather than just the latest sequel.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing of what pets do when you leave home, even the trailer, which does show perhaps the funniest aspects of it, but it's a great setup, it's a great idea.
Yeah. Speaking of reboots and remakes, at number 4 is Ghostbusters.
Yes, which I have now seen, and I got to say, I was not a fan of it. I got to say, I'm not a big fan of the original 2 films. I've seen them, and I think they're good films, but they're just not my sort of thing. And the issue that I have with the new one is nothing to do with them being female characters. The issue I have with it is that it's Paul Feig.
See, told you.
And the issue is, it's made me realise Paul Feig does not take any of his films seriously. I would like to see Paul Feig do a proper drama and not have someone there being stupid and doing comedy things.
That's not going to happen because his next film is all based around supermodels.
Yeah, and the thing is, he just doesn't take film seriously. He doesn't take the subject seriously. And as much as it's ghosts and everything, the first 2 films were made with a sense of it being real and it's all threat and everything, and the whole thing, there was this threat to it, and then because of that, and then this one you have a lot of the jokes in there are just not real. The whole thing with, you have Chris Hemsworth's character and then things that happen to him later on in the film towards the end, especially the last half hour, just completely lost me. I mean, I've got to say, I didn't love it, but I definitely didn't hate it. It's the weird thing. I wasn't sat there and I just thought it's terrible. I didn't laugh at it, but I sat there and I was like, caught out at the end and I go, I've spent 2 hours a lot worse ways at cinema watching things. And so, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's the thing of it's a perfectly fine way to waste 2 hours, but you'll come out of it and you'll go, I want the original Ghostbusters film, I don't want that.
Yeah, for me, I think I got more laughs out of Holtzman's character than in this film than I have from quite a few comedies I've seen, the full films, over the last, I would say, a year. I think it's just because Kate McKinnon, she just has a lot of fun with the character, and yeah, there's times where she needs to play the character serious, but there's also times where she's just having a little bit of kooky fun, and I think it works with her. It's just, I'm glad that also Melissa McCarthy isn't on annoying Melissa McCarthy level.
I gotta say as well, the thing is that I actually found Melissa McCarthy wasn't the most annoying thing. The actress in it that I actually found out of them that I found more annoying than anything else was Kristen Wiig. I found her character and her acting and the role just honestly grated me. I did quite like I forgot her name. The other, was it Rachel McKinnon? No. Kate McKinnon. I quite liked hers, although I thought it was a very stereotypical role. And I liked I forgot the name now. The other one, the last one.
Stereotypical on the fact that I have you seen her character traits before? Because the way they actually do her character, she's ditzy, but she's also got that big, huge, massive intelligence there. She's able to ramble through quantum mechanics and create all of those kind of stuff. So it's an amalgamation of brain-deaded blonde character you would see in a stereotypical stoner comedy, but also like an intelligent person who you would see more so in a drama movie like The Imitation Game, or somebody on that kind of level of intelligence, and seeing that kind of thing meld together, I've not seen that before in a film.
But I thought that it was very much the scientifically one who doesn't have any friends and isn't a very a social person. I just found that very redundant and very cliched.
But if you look at the way the original is actually played, I think she's slightly more outgoing than her original male counterpart, supposedly. But we could be on Ghostbusters all night. So moving on to number 3, we'll stream through this. It's Andrea Rieu's in the Maastricht concert. Every single year he has one, and every single year it does insane amounts at the box office.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say the thing I found most interesting about that, of anything, is that we have a friend of ours online, Bouncy Ball, who actually is a manager at the Lux Cinema in Wisbech, and they had this shown there, and they had some teenagers that went to it, and it's the kind of thing you wouldn't think teenagers would go to, but teenagers even went to this, so that's why it's probably done so well, because it must have had a big draw with the certain group of teenage level that have interest in that kind of music. It's not my kind of music, but I can understand that's good. I think that's a good result.
And tickets are more expensive as well, because the standard price for a ticket at my cinema is $7.95 during the week. The price for tickets for this at my cinema was £15.
Yeah, I do think it's a bit ridiculous that some of these are being done like that, because it's not like going to the actual thing. It is a film thing of it, and either it's live or a recorded live one. But I do think that's an issue. It's a kind of a we'll take them for everything we can. We'll put up the price and charge that much extra because it's an event thing, which it kind of seems a bit redundant to me. Once it's filmed or whatever it is, it's no longer an event. It's a film of an event.
Yeah, it's insane. Number 2 was a new entry for Star Trek Beyond. Yeah,
which I enjoyed. I do have nagging issues about it at me, because the whole thing of the villain doesn't really work. It's kind of, they decide to do one thing with the villain, then they decide not to, then they decide to do it, then they kind of flip-flop back and forth until they do it all at the end, and it's just kind of but I did like the whole thing of that. It felt a lot more like the original Star Trek. I thought it was very much in that feel to it, the original series and the whole thing on the planet and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to see it again, although I'm not like rushed to see it again. But I did like it, and I enjoyed it, and I like the Star Trek films. I definitely think it's better than Into Darkness, because I didn't like that much at all.
Yeah, the surprising thing is, though, the fact that it's gone in number 2. The film that's at number 1, which we'll get to in a second, I would have thought that would have been like number 2, number 3 area, not Star Trek Beyond. And it's sort of like been the case over in the US as well. It hasn't done as well as people might have expected it to do. People might have expected it to open to up to like 70-80 million pounds, and then its drop off in the second week might be around about 25%, whereas in fact its drop off is nearly close to 60%. And if you look at over big blockbuster movies over the summers, over the last few years, the drop off to a successful one has been around about the 50% mark. I don't see Star Trek. I think this Star Trek film is going to be the one to struggle the most out of the 3, because I see it going. It'll make its money back, but not that much back.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the standpoint of view they're going to make with the next film, because they're supposedly, if you look at the way the film is actually placed, it'll look like there'll be 2 more films after it with the cast that we've got. So I wonder how they're going to handle the next film. I
mean, the thing is, I would say to them, if they're going to do another one afterwards, try and to have it not be as quickly edited as it is, because the thing is, it's good to watch and it's a big visual film, and the problem is, though, it's edited very, very fast paced, and not your eyes are not given the time to see it, and they don't seem to take this into account. People are seeing it on a big screen, and your eyes struggle in that situation, in which case it's an off-putting about going back to see it again. I've seen it once, and I was a big Star Trek fan, and normally by now I would have found a way to go back and see it again, and I haven't. And it's a sign. I will see it again before it goes out to cinema, I'm sure, as long as I can find the time and sort it out. But I haven't seen it already, and that shows to me how less of an effect it's been on as being big Star Trek film. It's just like, it's another Star Trek film. It's not had that pull.
And at number 1 is a new entry for the BFG,
which I haven't seen.
Yeah, the BFG in America, it bombed. It did actually literally bomb in America. I'm not surprised that it is done much better over here, because I think people get Roald Dahl books more so over here than they do over in America, and it might be indicative if they've actually attempted to bring the Twits to the big screen, or some other Roald Dahl ones. I don't know how Fantastic Mr. Fox did in America when it was originally released.
I think it did fairly well, but that's because of the cast and because it was Wes Anderson
handled as well.
Because it's Wes Anderson though as well directed it.
Yeah, so the thing with Roald Dahl books, they have got like a quirky feel to them. So getting a director in like Steven Spielberg to do this has made the movie feel more fantastical rather than like have the feel of what the original source material had. Mark Rylance as the BFG is fantastic. I think he actually played it with a plum. Ruby Barnhill as the young girl in the film, I think she got on my nerves, and that's I think one of the biggest problems with the film itself, because you need to attach yourself to her character, and also the fact that it takes a long time to get moving, to do things, and the script itself is very, like, there's nothing there. It's very minute when it comes to the script. and I just didn't find the farting dogs funny. Because a lot of people see in the scene which involves the Queen and everybody drinking that juice which makes them pump is really hilarious, when in fact I just found it very childish. And it's just the film itself didn't stick with me as much as a lot of critics has been sticking it with. A lot of people who've been going to see the film have not liked it as much as critics have. So I think this is a critic-friendly film. For the public viewings, I don't think it's a friendly film on that front there. So that's why I'm really surprised it's gone straight in at number 1 above Star Trek Beyond. Because I think Beyond is a stronger film than the BFG. But well, I'll be interested to hear what your take is on it when it just comes out on Blu Ray and DVD.
It is one that is, if I get a chance to see it, but it was down to a choice of trying to see that or trying to see Ghostbusters with my other half, and she wanted to see really either, but we were kind of like, I wanted to see Ghostbusters, and it was, the thing is really surprising as well, Ghostbusters has been out for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And it's already been dumped by a lot of cinemas. It was in this chain cinema. I went and saw it on Sunday. It was down to 1 screen, and that's really kind of surprising. It was down to the 2D one, no 3D showings. The 3D one I think has been lost audiences, but the 2D one was fairly busy, but it was in the smallest screen the cinema had. It's basically being dumped by the cinemas, and it's not that it's doing badly. They're just dumping it because they're getting other films in that are, Jason Bourne, for example, is on every 45 minutes at 1 screen.
Well, with the fact that it's only the Suicide Squad out this Friday, you might find yourself you've got a little bit extra time, so there's your chance to go and see the BFG in that case.
Okay, so on to the first film.
Yeah, Finding Dory, which is the sequel to Finding Nemo, set 13 years later. Well, the film itself is not technically set 13 years later, considering the kind of fish that's involved. Doubt it would actually last 13 years. But the film, it takes place 13 years after the original events of Finding Nemo. Now, I heard a review of Finding Dory stating that what Pixar have a knack of doing when they create sequels to their movies is making the sequel feel slightly different to the original film. So if you look at the Toy Story series, for example, if you look at the way they handled 2 and 3, they've got the feelings of the previous film, but also take it in their own different direction. Cars as well, even though they're not that good of a films, it seems to take them in a different direction. The thing with Finding Nemo / Finding Dory, I don't think that's the case, because Finding Dory has got a very similar story to Finding Nemo. In Finding Nemo, it was all about Nemo's father trying to find him, Marlin trying to find his son. And that was the premise of the first film. In this one, it's all about Dory realizing, I'm starting to think where my parents might be. I wonder if I can actually discover where my parents is. And so she goes off on an adventure to discover where her parents is, which leads her to this huge massive aquarium where she meets a cornucopia of different eccentric-esque characters. Here's a clip.
Wait, no. I know where my parents are. They're in, what's it called? The place, Soap and Lotion?
Open Ocean.
Open Ocean!
Open Ocean? I know where that is. That's the exhibit located right next to... I don't care.
Easy.
If you're trying to get to the Open Ocean exhibit, just go through the pipes.
Through the pipes, great.
Through the pipes?
Yep, take 2 lefts, swim straight, and you'll hit it.
Oh, that's a lot of directions. Did you get that, Hank? All that?
Yeah.
Great. Let's go.
I'm not going with you. I won't fit. You have to go by yourself.
I can't, because I'm not so good with directions.
Well, that's too bad. A deal's a deal. You wanted to find your parents? That's how you get to them. Now give me your tag.
But Hank, I can't go in the pipes alone. I'll forget where I'm going.
Not my problem. Tag!
See, also what Finding Nemo did best is it was one of those films where it was constantly saying, no matter what is wrong with you, if you see yourself having a disability, things like that, then you're fine. You're just a normal person. Don't ever think that you're different. And that's exactly what Finding Dory does as well. Every single character that Dory meets has an ailment. So Dory has a really bad memory. She only has little pockets where she starts to remember things. But she has a horrible memory. She comes across a whale that's got really bad sonar. She comes across these sea lions who are just really angry but then mellow. and so one of them is played brilliantly, voiced by Idris Elba. And so every single character that you come across has a different ailment. So what Pixar is saying is that there are different kinds of people in this world, and you should never treat somebody different because they've got something different to you. And so it's not a perfect world. We're not living in a world where everybody's got 20/20 eyesight, where everybody's got perfect hearing, where everybody can walk in a straight line after you've had 15 pints, where everybody has got like just perfect throughout. Because if society was like that, then the world would be the most dullest place in existence. And because we've got such an eclectic mix of different characters, the world is much more of an interesting place. And that's the huge massive plus point about Finding Dory, because kids, when they go to see this movie, they'll go, I sort of like represent myself against that character there, or I know how that character feels. And it's really interesting from that point of view. It zips along really well. It never ever holds back. It's always like moving along at a steady pace. I think Ellen DeGeneres loves doing the voice of Dory. You can tell the way she's actually reading the script that she's just absolutely loving voicing Dory. And I think everybody involved also is loving playing the characters that they've got. The thing with the film, though, is it's just too simplistic, because it's following the same kind of blueprint as the original one. It's treading the same territory, it's treading the same ground, and so you feel like you're watching the same film again, but just told slightly differently. And considering Pixar have a knack of being able to create sequels where they feel different to the original one, this one doesn't feel different that much, so it feels lazy on the front of Pixar. Animation wise, their movies never feel lazy. They're always zip and pop, and they're full of colour, and they're full of distractions all throughout. But story wise, this is one of their weakest stories for a very long time, because it just feels, like I said, they've taken the script from Finding Nemo and just changed a few little things. Overall though, kids will love the film because it's such an entertaining movie, and with it having the deep undercurrents that it's got, families, older people can actually see the ailments that the characters have got and think, oh yeah, they've handled that really well. So it's a smart movie on that front, and again, well done for Pixar for doing that, because they could have just made all characters be stereotypical, and they didn't do that. So overall, I enjoyed the film. I just don't think it's as good as Finding Nemo is.
I'm guessing as well, because it's Pixar, that the 3D version is worth seeing as well, because I do love the Pixar films in 3D. They do a great job of adding the depth to it, which is what I like.
I saw it in 2D, I didn't see it in 3D, but it was, when you're watching it in 2D, you never get that feeling going, that scene would be better in 3D, that scene would be better in 3D. So you never felt like you're losing anything by watching it in 2D, but then you're watching it and think, I don't know if I'll be gaining something if I saw this in 3D. So
you don't get though. Do you ever get?
Might not be a distraction.
Did you ever get though? Because I mean, like I said, when I saw Ghostbusters, I saw it in the 2D actually, and the effects that obviously there were points at where you could tell there were things coming out of the screen in the 3D thing. So you don't get any of that kind of artifact thing.
No, you don't get any of that at all. So the 3D might be just for the stuff where 3D works best.
Yeah. Where
it's not making you distracted from the film that you're actually watching. It just adds that little bit extra to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I recommend it, but don't go in expecting Finding Nemo, because you'll be disappointed on that front there. But go in expecting an entertaining 90 minutes fun animated adventure, and you'll just come out with a big smile on your face.
Okay, the other big film out this week then is Jason Bourne, which was actually released on Wednesday last week. So it's kind of, that's why it's had a little bit of an extended opening. It is directed by Paul Greengrass, who also had a hand in writing it with Christopher Rouse. It is the return of Matt Damon to the character of Jason Bourne. Given the four previous films, the first three were with him, and the last one, Legacy, was with a new character played by Jeremy Renner.
Cross.
Yeah, and here you have, as I say, Matt Damon returning. It is set after all the time that has been, because it has been it's not been 10 years, has it, I think, since the last one? Not quite.
Well, if you rule out that one, it's round about that area there.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, around about 10 years, 10, 12 years.
And so, of course, things have gone on in that time. It's not set immediately after the other one. You have this whole thing happening with the character of Nikki that returns, played by Julia Stiles, who has appeared in the first three films in roles. and in this one she has also been on the run sometime. It actually starts with her hacking into the CIA, downloading a whole group of files about the whole thing of the Treadstone operation that there was, and all the Blackbriar and all the things that we've seen connected with Bourne in the previous films. And while she's sort of doing that, she ends up sort of with the target on the back of the people at CIA, sort of the head man of the group that's now overseeing this, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and you have a new character played by Alicia Vikander, who is kind of the tech agent, who is more than a tech agent, and is the one who's sort of set to, you know, try and bring in Bourne. While in the meantime, you have also a character just referred to as Asset, played by Vincent Cassel, who is kind of one of the original Treadstone assassins and has a personal beef with Bourne because of his past. And you have this whole thing of then they start getting back into things, they realise that Jason Bourne's involved, and so of course the hunt is on. Here's a clip.
Bourne, my name is Heather Lee. I'm not in charge here. I wasn't here when you went missing. I can see you going through the old Treadstone files, retracing your history. I know you're looking for something. Let me help you find it.
Give me that phone.
Yes, sir.
Jason, this is Robert Dewey. Do you remember me?
Jason, your dad was a patriot.
He could see the threats that America was facing, and like you, he chose to serve his country
Out of a profound sense of duty.
He would not want to see you harm the agency.
You have to stop this. And you have to stop it now.
So you heard that clip there. You had Alicia Vikander and Tommy Lee Jones. You didn't hear Matt Damon because generally throughout the film Matt Damon doesn't have a lot of dialogue.
Mostly around about 25 lines of
yeah,
dialogue
it's not a lot for the entirety of the whole film, and he's playing the sort of the character because he's basically playing the character who is he's punishing himself a lot because of he remembers everything. He remembers all the things he's done and had to do, and the people he's had to kill, and all of that sort of coming back, and he's basically punishing himself because of that. As we're introduced to him, we meet him, and he's basically doing fighting for money, but allowing himself to kind of get a bit beaten in the process because it's almost sort of a thing of that, you know, he's there for penance in a way, and then he gets involved in this whole thing of the, you know, and he's brought back into the whole thing happening with the CIA being hacked and such. It's a film which is the weakest of the Bourne films, I think, and I would kind of say it's on par with the fourth one, not so much in that it's weak in the regards of that how the fourth one was weak in the regards that it was an offshoot, it was a spin-off thing. This is weak in the respect of the story that's been written is very much kind of an excuse just to kind of bring it back, and it doesn't really deal with the things that have been set up in the previous film. And in the last film there was a setup for lots of things happening, and they could have brought Bourne back and had a lot more reasons, and it would have been, I think, better. They do try and add in a personal aspect that he finds out during the film that happened to his past and such, but it just feels as if it's just another excuse to just put in a big action scene and have a big fight, and, you know, have him actually turn around and fight someone. And it's not. It's odd thing to say, but it's not a brilliant film. It's not a bad film, but it's very kind of disappointing. And it's for the 2 hours that it runs, it is entertaining. It does have the good sort of action thing that there is. It's got the shaky cameras back with Paul Greengrass, but it's nice to see the return of Jason Bourne because I do like the character. I like the previous films. But I just wish there had been more. It's really just a missed opportunity. There was a chance there for so much more, and especially, as I said, the last film gave it. There was that material set up. It expanded the world and set up the possibility of Jason Bourne's return. And they have kind of decided, no, we'll ignore that because they are still going to do the Jeremy Renner film carrying on next year or the year after. And I want to see them kind of merge the two together because they should be. They are connected, and this should be a separate story, as a single story instead of two separate stories.
See, I completely agree with you on the story front. It feels like it's that thing that I had the problem with Finding Dory, as with Finding Nemo. It feels like they're treading exactly the same ground with this film, with Jason Bourne. It looks like he's taken elements from the first three Bourne films and pretty much meshed them together. Like, we've seen the story before. We've seen Bourne going through exactly the same problems as he does in Jason Bourne. The set pieces are really well handled. They are actually breathtaking, because Paul Greengrass does not want to settle, yet he doesn't want to instantly just speed through a set piece just because the set piece needs to be there. He wants to take his time with it and add layers on top of layers on it. It's very much like a lasagna. If the way you look at the set piece is it starts building up from the bottom and adds the basic layer to it, and then all of a sudden he starts to steamroll it from there and builds up momentum constantly throughout to have the ending crescendo. I think the final set piece, the stuff that's set in Las Vegas, I think that's the weak part of the set pieces. It did not fit. It felt like it was Greengrass going, I think a big massive action set piece is a good way to end the film, and it just did not fit with me. I did not like the way it was all about this huge massive police truck just ploughing through Las Vegas and breaking through all these hotels, and it felt like it was off like a Batman movie or a superhero movie and not off a Jason Bourne movie. I would have much liked that chase scene to be more reeled back, to be very much like something we've seen in films like The Raid rather than a Bourne movie. So it has its problems. I think that Matt Damon is Jason Bourne. Nobody could actually replace him as being Jason Bourne, and even though he's got very little dialogue, I think he is that. Alicia Vikander's character is very stereotypical, very straight-laced, very straightforwardly placed. I don't think she fits into the film. I think they could have had somebody else play her character, and they would have been able to handle it fine.
I don't think she's as stereotypical though as Tommy Lee Jones's character, who is right out of the first couple of films, like what Brian Cox played.
I think all of them are very stereotypical, the way they actually just flow. It's just, you could replace pretty much everybody in the film apart from Matt Damon. You could have a different actor playing Tommy Lee Jones once. You could have had Morgan Freeman or somebody like that playing his role. You could have somebody else playing Alicia Vikander's role. I just think that they Greengrass dreamt up Alicia Vikander's role because he would just look down and thought, you know what, I would like to put her in a movie, so let's create this character. And it's just, the way her character flows, the arc that she follows, just, it's very typical. Julia Stiles' character is very similar to her at the start of like the first Bourne film, and then she might end up leading Alicia Vikander's character in the very same direction. So it is the weakest out of the original trilogy. I'm not including Legacy. It is the weakest out of those ones. Yeah. It's not strongest by a huge margin. I think it's better than Legacy. Just I didn't think that Legacy sort of like gripped me.
I can understand where you're coming from, that, but I definitely think it's at the best it is on par with Legacy for me. It's not better. It doesn't manage to reach that.
I think if they were planning to come back with Jason Bourne, they should have brought Gilroy back on board as well. I know Greengrass and Gilroy had a sort of like an argument with each other at the end of Ultimatum, but I still think that they should have had. I think if Gilroy was involved, I think the script would have been much more stronger, and I can see your coherence. I think that's when both Cross and Bourne probably would have been brought together for the final film, the next film in the series, and I think it would have made a fitting end to bring both of their arcs together and just meld them together for the last one, them two teaming up to ultimately bring down Treadstone and all the programs that they're involved with. Just end it off.
It needs to be some kind of the connection, because they are connected through the world. So it needs to be, and they're in. It's not as if they're connected by the weakest of strings. They are quite strongly connected with the pasts of the entire series. So they can't just kind of ignore each other.
But I don't see Gilroy and Greengrass sort of like working together on the final film. So it's whoever is actually going to take hold of that. I don't see Matt Damon though wanting to be in a film directed by Gilroy, a Bourne film directed by him, because the only reason why he returned was because Greengrass returned. So I don't think he'll do that. Will Greengrass be interested in bringing the Cross character over? I don't know if he would be interested in doing that. So I don't know how they would actually handle the final film, the sixth film.
Sixth film, yeah. Okay, that's it for this week's cinema section. We're going to have a quick break and then we'll be back with this week's DVD and Blu Ray section in the home releases. We're back in a moment.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, into the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show where we're looking at these films.
Big superhero action in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the extended edition, the Ultimate Edition, in 4K, as Stuart is reviewing it. Hardcore Henry, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and The Unfolding.
Yeah, and on top of that we have our TV movie of the week, our overall movie of the week, but we'll lead things off with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10.
Yep, starting at number 10 with Grimsby.
Awful. Absolutely awful. It's gross out humour from minute 1 to minute 100 or whatever, how long it's on for. It's just really terrible.
Number 9 is the BFG.
This version is much better than the Steven Spielberg one. This is a classic. In animated form, the film works. In live action form, the film just works. So if you're sort of like wondering which one to watch, probably is this version of the BFG rather than the live action one I would choose.
Number 8 is Finding Nemo.
Yeah, this is better than Finding Dory, but it's just a lot of fun. I think kids will want to say it to their parents after seeing Finding Dory. Can we have Finding Nemo? And that's one of the big reasons why it's actually flown back into the top 10, because kids are just definitely wanting that.
Number 7 is Allegiant.
Not as good. The problem with the Allegiant series is it's been going downhill. It's not as bad as the previous one, Insurgent, but it's a series that's heading to TV now. How they're going to handle it on that front, I just don't know, because didn't Mortal Instruments, didn't that get a TV series?
Yeah, that's now been given a TV series. I don't know if it's actually coming back or not though, because it was pretty weakly received, I think, for the first season. So
did you actually see any of it?
I did see some of it, yeah. It wasn't as good as the film. I liked the film. I was kind of disappointed that it didn't get any more, because I liked what it was building, you know.
Yeah, but the TV series just didn't actually work for it. So I don't know how they're going to handle the final bit, and if any of the original actors from the series will return. I doubt it.
No, I have doubts. Number 6 is the short Frozen Fever.
Yeah, I've seen this. It is pretty short. It's only on for like 10 minutes. So it's getting sold for £2 in one of those big giant supermarkets. So that's the only reason why it's back in the top 10.
Kung Fu Panda 3 is at number 5.
I thought it was okay. It's the weakest out of the Kung Fu Panda series. It's just, again, it's following exactly the same blueprint as the previous Kung Fu Panda movies. Jack Black is enjoying voicing the character of Po. I think the film flows pretty well. It's okay.
Number 4 is Deadpool, moving up the chart.
Yeah, we said absolutely everything we can about Deadpool. It's insane. It's over the top insanity.
It's rude. It's crazy. It's insidious. It is just ridiculous, but it's witty and funny. Yeah. New entry at number 3 for 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I was hoping this to actually do better than the film at number 2. Which is annoying, because this is actually a really good film, yet the film at number 2 is absolute garbage. But yeah, it's 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's very tense. It's one of the most tense thrillers I've seen in a very long time, because it has that notion where a thriller should make you feel like you're sitting on the edge of your seat, and that's exactly what 10 Cloverfield Lane does. That's down to John Goodman, I think, out of everybody involved. It's very well directed, very well acted by everybody else. And
if I can say as well, it has got one of the best sound mixes in the film, the best surround sound, and the way it's done and the built, and also it's one of these films that has the volume, doesn't jump up and things. It actually has a consistently loud or quiet volume all the way through it, but the mix is fantastic.
Yeah, so it's just John Goodman. I don't want to come across him not when he's in that kind of malevolent mood there. And the people who said this does not have a connection to Cloverfield, which is supposedly this is a sort of prequel / sequel to
pseudo. I'd call it a sidequel.
It's actually more of a prequel than you think it is. There are little bits that if you dig deep into the movie and into the lore of the film itself, for example, I'll give you a hint. John Goodman's character, if you look at what his past was, it has much more of a connection to Cloverfield than you actually think. So yeah, there's a lot of little nuggets for you to actually dig into, to watch the film maybe it's a second, third time, to get some things that you might have missed. But I really liked it, even including the insane ending.
Yeah. So that movie we were talking about, number 2, dropping down from last week's top spot, is London Has Fallen.
Yeah, terrible.
It's not fallen enough though.
Oh, it should have fell out of the top 10, but that's not going to happen for a few weeks. But it's awful. This is how not to do a sequel. When you've got Olympus Has Fallen wasn't the best out of the bunch that was released that year, which involved pretty much the entirety of America being exploded. But it wasn't the best. It had its moments, and Gerard Butler seemed to be just having a bit of fun with his character again. I know we said that a lot this week, but that was the case with Olympus Has Fallen. This one, he's just in it because he thought, yeah, it's an easy role to play. Let's just do it. And it's really lazy.
So the number 1 movie on DVD and Blu Ray in the UK, new entry, is Zootropolis.
Yeah, it's fantastically animated. It doesn't talk down to kids, yet it doesn't talk up to adults. There's enough in there for both age groups. It can get a bit scary at times for kids, especially when you discover the movie itself centers around a drug of sorts, which is making animals go insane. And there are a few moments where animals do jump out and kids will sort of like be scared. But there are enough things in there to make kids really happy. I just think the problem with Zootropolis is the characters are not memorable enough for a Disney film. And so there's a big massive Disney shop in my town centre, and I've seen none of the characters from Zootropolis actually in the Disney shop. So that says a lot about the characters that are involved in it, which is an annoyance, because I would like to see a sequel to Zootropolis sometime and see these characters again. Well, whether we see it or not, I don't know.
Yep.
Right, that's it for the Blu-ray DVD top 10, and we'll get into the smallest release of the week. Batman vs Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I'm not going to add the 4K part, because not everybody is going to watch it in 4K. Is the Ultimate Edition, is there a separate version getting released as well?
I think it's been released in one pack which has both versions on it.
So it's just actually coming out as Batman vs Superman, the Ultimate Edition.
But basically there is, for anyone listening to explain, you have the theatrical cut of the film is about 2.5 hours long, and the ultimate cut of the film, which reinstates a lot of footage throughout the whole film, reinstates a good deal of half an hour of footage into it. So it is actually a 3-hour running time for the Ultimate Edition version.
Including credits and stuff like that, the film runs 3 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's about, if the film itself is about 2 hours 50 minutes, 2 hours 55 overall. So the basic story with Batman vs Superman is the way Zack Snyder likes to obviously do films. He likes to have films where they've got multiple different story strands. So instead of going through everything, the basic synopsis is we see Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne / Batman. It's in the wake of the destruction of Metropolis. Everything is going really bad in Gotham as well. And so he rescues a girl in one specific scene at the start of the film. I'm not even going to go over the first 10 minutes because that annoyed the heck out of me when I first saw it. And so I'm not going to mention that again. And so he has got a lot of hatred towards Superman. He wants to see the end of Superman, the end of his destruction. And he's not the only one. Jesse Eisenberg plays Lex Luthor, who's trying to war both Batman and Superman off against each other, while obviously him getting the kryptonite stuff that supposedly can bring Superman down, weaponize it, and ultimately him sort of showing that he is somebody to be feared of. You've got Holly Hunter's character who plays the Senator, who Lex Luthor is trying to butter her up a little bit to try and get funding for this. However, he's finding other methods of doing that. And then you've got everybody else involved, including Lawrence Fishburne, who plays Perry White, trying to get Superman to do his job when Superman is sort of in the doldrums because Clark, he works for the same paper as Perry, and so he's trying to actually discover what's going on. But Clark is, like I said, he's in the doldrums because everybody's bad-mouthing Superman. So you've got multiple different story strands, and it's only until in the last half of the film where they all start to come together in Zack Snyder fashion. Here's a clip.
Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
Tell me. Do you bleed?
Now, people probably be wondering what is the added extra stuff added to the Ultimate Edition that might actually make the movie a bit more of a coherent stuff. Well, the first half of the film is where a lot of the extra stuff is actually added to. And for people who are not sort of like looking for that kind of stuff, they won't notice that much of a difference. It's certain scenes that have been slightly extended. There's a couple of scenes that's been moved around a little bit, but overall it isn't a lot that would make you think, yeah, this does take a movie that was very coherently messy and make it much more enthralling to watch. And I still have the same kind of feeling to the Ultimate Edition as I have with the original, the theatrical release of it. It's a messy film because what Zack Snyder is trying to do is have tons of different story strands happening in the first, I would say, or leading up to 2/3 of the movie, and then doing exactly what he did in the previous Superman film, sort of like have big massive set pieces with lots of explosions to distract them away from the mess that is the story. I still think that Ben Affleck as Batman is really well played. I think he brings a lot of darkness, a lot of turmoil to the character that I don't think Christian Bale has got it in him to do that. I think Ben Affleck has got a lot of stuff in his back catalogue to sort of like build onto the character. I think he, in my opinion, controversial it might be, but I think he plays the best Batman. It's just because
I agree.
Batman, if you look over the entirety of Batman's story, I know his origin story has been told numerous times before, but it is a dark past. That's the kind of things that's happened to him, and I think Ben Affleck has got that in his face. You could just see when he hasn't got the costume on him, he's not a happy person. He never cracks a smile to the entirety of this movie, and I think it works on that front there. So I hope that he brings that into his own Batman movie, which he is writing now, and he is going to star in it as well. I hope it's a very dark movie, dark, brooding movie, because I think it will really work for him. Superman, however, I just didn't think Superman was very well played by Henry Cavill in the previous Superman film. I don't think it's very well played in this one neither. He's trying to be very much like Ben Affleck, when in fact his brooding doesn't work. The only thing that does work for him is the fact that he's very well built, and so in the extended edition he makes sure he shows people that he's very well built. So for example, the scene which involves him in the bathtub with Lois, that's actually extended in this one just by another about 15 seconds, but it's extended. There's also a scene where he's seeing everybody bad-mouthing Superman on TV, and he's standing there without a shirt on. So it's Jim going, yes, this is my asset, I'm big and bulky. I can't act, but I'm big and bulky, look at my muscles. So yeah, everybody else involved, Lex Luthor, awful in the theatrical version, awful in the Ultimate Edition, never changes at all, really great. Jesse Eisenberg is, I don't know what he's doing, he's very much more like the Riddler rather than Lex Luthor. So overall, the film, it didn't change in my eyes. It just felt like I was watching a longer version of the theatrical one, and I had a sore bum after watching. 3 hours is way too long for a movie like this. So for people who didn't like it in the theatre, you're not going to like it on Blu-ray and DVD in the Ultimate Edition. For people who are sort of like forgiving, you'll actually see the differences and you'll think, yeah, it makes it a bit more of a coherent movie. So it's only for fans of the theatrical release.
I think that it is a better film on the Ultimate one because of the fact of the stuff. A lot of the things that's added in is the whole thing of the plotting against Superman is in the film, especially in the first hour, and then you have the motives are made a lot more clearer. The things that are going on, you have the whole thing of what's going on with the character, the man who is arrested and has been branded by Batman, and what happens to him in prison and stuff, and that all being set up, and it's a lot more obvious and explained what is going on. And a lot of that is sort of the stuff that was cut, and it's not just that, because I've gone back and I've watched it compared to the theatrical one, and there's hundreds of little tiny snippets that have been cut that it's quite clear that somebody has gone through it and basically just sat in the editor room and gone, it's 3 hours long, it's too long, we need to get it cut down for the cinema. So they've just gone, oh, there's 10 seconds I can cut off there at the end of a scene. So for me, the pacing on it is a lot better because there's a lot more breath between scenes than it is, oh god, oh we're into this, oh now this didn't happen, it doesn't have the feeling like it's getting out of breath when it's going now as this theatrical one did. The pacing on it feels a lot more, it's not leisured, but it feels a lot more that it's not going too fast and you're not getting lost, and I think that's a lot better. I think definitely the editing shows an improvement in the alternate one because it is the original cuts, the original way, and just when they cut too soon, it actually is quite jarring, and that's the problem with the theatrical one. I agree definitely that the Bruce Wayne character played by Ben Affleck is the best Batman. I think he has been my personal favourite. I like the brutality of the character in this. I think it makes a lot more sense. They should also mention as well, I think, I'm not sure on the rating, but the uncut version of it is a bit more graphic and actually has a lot more things like blood spurts next when people are hit and stuff.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter, on my Twitter feed, messaging the BBFC about this, and they did turn around and say the film is still a 12, and if the Ultimate Edition was released in the cinema, it still would have been given a 12 year.
So I mean, I don't get it. A lot of people thinking, it was cut because of the rating, and there was some shots in it, I think, in America that they were cut for rating, but the uncut one, I think there's been, because sometimes the American ones and the British ones can be funny with that, but I don't have a problem with it. I mean, the thing is, it was brutal for a 12 in the cinema anyway. I don't think it makes it necessarily any more brutal the way it is now.
It has gone up in age certificate in America.
In America, yeah.
PG-13,
yeah.
Now it's an R.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary, to be honest, because I think the first version of it, the 12, was actually very pushing the limit anyway. So there's not been that much of a difference made to it that way.
One added thing that I think Zack Snyder should have included in the theatrical version, and he has included in the Ultimate one, I'm glad that he did, is Jenna Malone's character, because she was only sort of like a brief fleeting moment in and considering,
I don't think she was in the theatrical one at all. I think she was cut out altogether.
She blink and you miss her. In this one, considering what she provides to Lois, it is huge. There is 2 scenes which involves Jenna Malone's character in this one, and what you actually see her do with her character, there are 2 like really necessary scenes as well, which makes me question why were they pulled out of the theatrical version. Yeah. So they're very important.
It's just been someone in editing just going, oh, we need a timeout, we'll cut that out. And there's been not huge, but there's been whole sequences that they've just gone, oh, we'll cut that out, it doesn't matter, and that's screwed up the narrative in the theatrical one.
I think it's just the Jenna Malone ones is the most important for me, and I was glad to see them in there because it added a proper cohesion to a few scenes that you were slightly confused about what was happening there, where with her character reinstated, with her scenes reinstated into this one, you understand, so you do get it, so it doesn't feel messy on Zack Snyder's front on those specific ones. So at least I'll give him plaudits for that.
Yeah.
And he knows how to handle a camera as well. So again, he's like Michael Bay. I might not like his films, but the way he handles a camera is definitely stellar.
Okay, on to Hardcore Henry, which is directed by Elia Naishula.
I'll let you off with
Let's
that.
call the whole thing
you've
off.
Got the awkward name of the week.
It's a weird film because the thing, if you haven't seen any of the trailers, you will not know about the whole thing of the film. Is that it is basically a POV first person thing. So it's essentially shot like a video game where you have the whole film is from the point of the character of Henry. You are the character of Henry, who, as we're introduced to him, wakes up on a kind of futuristic operating table, his legs that are kind of bionic legs being attached, and his arms is all sort of, it's evident that he's been rebuilt somehow. But then all hell breaks loose when some guys with guns turn up and attack, and he has to basically go on the run, and along the way running into several different characters all played, and there is a reason for it, but I won't go into it for details of spoiler, but all played by Sharlto Copley. Here's a clip.
It's alright, I'm not here to hurt you. Is your speech module installed? Well, at least we know you're not deaf. It's alright, you can put your hands down now.
3 years I've been waiting for this moment. I'll get Charlie Chaplin.
Right, let's have a look at you. Just open the glove box, please. Take out that whole contraption. You've got to untangle the wires. Take your shirt off, please. Open up there.
Yeah, those. Plug the jacks in there. Yeah, in there. So, your name's Henry, and... OK, well, the good news is that you're going to live a while. The bad news is that in this case, a while means 20, 30 minutes tops, Henry. Unless you're very, very lucky.
So, you have this whole thing of that it is basically a big action film that's all done with the character kicking 7 shades of things out of people. It's, I mean, to try and explain it any more than that, there's this weird thing of they have the head henchman, head villain guy is this guy who has somehow sort of telekinetic powers, so there's this kind of weird aspect to it as well. But the thing is, it's a film that it's odd the way it's done, but it's basically just a crazy 90 minutes of chaos, action, explosions, fists, guns, everything that you can imagine. And it's at certain points in the first sort of half hour, it does kind of get a little bit repetitive, and you kind of get a bit bored of this, and then it starts to actually kind of get its legs running and get itself going a bit, and it starts to really kind of develop a little bit of a plot, and you have this whole thing going on and the explanation a little bit, and that helps, and it then turns into a big action thing again. And it's kind of dumb, stupid action, but it's fun, it's crazy, it's interesting, it's actually quite cleverly done, the way it's shot and the way it's done, and the way it's edited together, and it's nothing special aside from just the way it's been done, the way it's been filmed. That is the whole gimmick of it. If it wasn't for that sort of thing, it would be a kind of a Luc Besson produced film, that, you know, that typical kind of dumb action thing that doesn't really have much of a plot, and it's just everyone shooting each other and beating 7 shades of out of each other. So it's nothing exceptional, but the way it's shot is what is exceptional about it, and what's clever and what's interesting, and it's worth seeing for that alone. It's not worth seeing for anything else there's maybe the action sequences, but the acting's not great. And Sharlto Copley does a really good job with the weird thing that he's got going, of playing all these different characters, which there is an explanation, as I say, but to say what it would be kind of spoilerish of the very little plot that there is. But it is a crazy thing, you know, sit there and you're not into that sort of thing, you'll get bored. But if you like that sort of thing, you used to just sit there, kind of like the Crank films, it's just crazy, stupid, fun action, and that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine for that. But it's not, you know, Oscar-worthy material.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell that's produced by Timur Bekmambetov. He's produced the film. He's actually directed the new Ben-Hur movie, which is out
I've seen that
time, which looks quite weird for him to actually be doing that kind of film. But yeah, you can definitely tell that he's got his mitts on that film. And I think the guy who's directed it, I think he worked on Nochi no Dosa and Dochi Dosa, which is now watching Deer Watch. So I think he's worked with Bekmambetov before. But it's frenetic. It's really frenetic, well over the top kind of movie. The movie that, if you look at films like Brick Mansions and stuff like that, I know Brick Mansion tried to copy films like The Raid, but it's sort of like that kind of ilk, but much more insane. Like, everybody is being injected with sugar, and then injected even more with sugar, and then just dipped in sugar.
And then there's drinking maple syrup.
Yeah. No, thank things. They're too much sugar. But it leaves your brain at the door and just enjoy absolute insanity. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 then is completely different. Comedy. It's directed by Kirk Jones, who directed the first film. It's written and starring Nia Vardalos. The first film came out about 10 years ago. Very similar kind of premise to the first film. In the first film, Nia Vardalos played Tula. She was having relationship problems. She then ends up falling in love with somebody, John Corbett, who plays Ian, and they end up marrying. So it's a Greek wedding. In this one, very similar premise. Tula is sort of like working in her parents' cafe/restaurant. She's sort of like in the doldrums with her marriage a little bit. However, she discovers that her mother and father are not married, so the whole film centers around them getting married. However, she needs to concentrate on her marriage and her daughter. Her daughter is growing up, getting ready to go off to university. And here's a clip which explains the slight annoyance with the film.
There's Paris.
If she goes to Northwestern, she'll stay in Chicago.
Please, oh please. Let's go over there.
No.
Right.
There she is! Did you invite the family?
I told my ma.
I wanted to be a dental hygienist, a mother working 2 days a week. Perfect.
Paris. Be a hairdresser, like me.
Ian, look. Everybody has boys. You, vegetarian. One girl. Slow sperm.
Yeah, so, you heard how hectic that scene was there. Yeah, that's indicative of what the movie is like. It's just lots of Greek people shouting, "Oh, schmutzes," and all that kind of stuff. The stereotypical Greek things. "Oh, my matzo bar," and etc. It's really annoying. The kind of movie that you would switch off after 15 minutes. I know it was a movie originally, and then it was turned into a TV series, and then a sequel was written movie-wise. And it's just annoying. It really grates on you. It's supposed to be funny, yet it goes so stereotypical that you just can't laugh at it. It's like it's trying to laugh at itself, when in fact that there's nothing funny about the movie at all. It's just really annoying. It's on for an hour and a half, and everything is stereotypical about this. They take the mickey out of the Greek people. The main crux of the film is about Tula's mother and father marrying again, and the father is obsessed with him saying that he is a descendant from Alexander the Great. So one of the plot points of the film is him discovering to try and work out how to use a computer in a scene that lasts about 5 minutes, which you've seen multiple times before and much more funnier, for him to try and discover that he is a descendant of Alexander the Great. Shows you how just brilliant the film is, if that's one of the main plot points of it. It's lazy writing, lazy acting, just not funny at all. And I bet you're glad that you didn't watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the first one, and I never got around to it. So it's a weird thing of watching a sequel without the context of the first one. But from what it sounds, it just sounds like it's just a case of not being that particularly funny. In which case, I wonder if the first one was funny enough to really even get the second one.
The first one was supposed to be funny, but from what I can gather, this is exactly the same story. But instead of centering around Vardalos's and Colbert's character of Tula and Ian, it centers around her parents. That's it. That's the difference. Final film then, The Unfolding, small little British movie. It's directed by Eugene McGing. Sounds like something you order at McDonald's.
It sounds like McGee.
But yeah, it's a. Now, this is a weird horror movie because it takes tropes from loads of other different movies. So movies like Right at Your Door and The Woods, and films like Paranormal Activity. So it centers around a couple who they're into sort of like the physical events, the sort of like Paranormal Activity kind of stuff. And they go off to Dartmoor, to this small little house where it's supposedly haunted. When they get to this house, bad things start happening. Not just like haunted wise, they see this weird creature on the top of the cliff, And then in the house, the girl of the film, she starts to hear sort of like baby cries and all that kind of stuff. They discover the kitchen doors open and crockery and all that kind of stuff all over the place. When one of the friends turns up, things get even more worse, which brings them to get a professor involved and this paranormal investigator. However, they discover that something more malevolent could be at work, because happening alongside this is the world is ending. Nuclear disasters has happened across the globe, and the UK is about to be hit by a nuclear bomb from Germany to kill the entirety of people in the UK. So you have got a monster that's supposedly alluded to at the start of the film. You've got things that go bump at the night, very much like Paranormal Activity. You've got a nuclear disaster that's about to go off, very much akin to Right at Your Door. You've got loads of other tropes that you've seen in tons of other different horror films trying to meld together into one movie, and the film itself is pretty much shot in black and white. It's devoid of any kind of colour. So with all that, does the movie work? You can probably guess the answer.
Yeah, I'm guessing no.
It's definitely not no. Because you're taking elements from loads of different movies to try and meld them together to wonder what would actually work out of all of them. Nothing works out of any of them. Because Right at Your Door is a really good film about the aftermath of a disaster that happens. Paranormal Activity, the first one, is a good film, even though the rest of them are a bit bad. You've got monster movies like American Werewolf in London, so it tries to have a little bit of that. I even reviewed a film a few weeks ago which I thought was a terrible film called Exmo, and that has a creature bit at the end of the film. This one has a creature bit at the start of the film. And it's just bad. It's badly shot, really, really badly edited together. I know we have a problem with shaky cam in films, it can make you a bit nauseous. But because the last 15 minutes of the film itself, it's trying to build up loads of like paranormal things happening. The film itself, with it being in black and white as well, and the camera not showing very much at all, they might as well have not shot anything for the last 15 minutes. It might as well have just been a radio player, like you're listening to The Archers, because you can't see anything. You really cannot see anything at all. And then it brings in the nuclear disaster at the end of the film as well. It's completely just all over the place, an absolute mess. Avoid it, majorly avoid it. And that's it. Now you see the reason why no other film wanted to go up against Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't very much else out to go up against it. But that's it for the new releases on this week's show. TV movie of the week.
I've got 4 actually to pick from.
I've got 2, but I know that you're going for one of them, of the 2 that I've got.
Okay, well, the 3 that I'm not going but just going to make note of, a film that I do really love, and it's a 80s film with Clint Eastwood, on Tuesday the 2nd of August on ITV4 at 12 AM, so that's 12 midnight on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, is Firefox, which is the one about him being a spy and stealing a futuristic airplane. It's quite dated now, but it's a film that I do really like, and it's a film that it's the kind of thing I'm thinking somebody should remake it now, do it well, but it's the kind of thing that, these are the kind of films that you're surprised nobody's remaking, but they're remaking things that are, like Flatliners and stuff, which just leave that alone.
Equalizer.
Yeah. On Wednesday the 3rd of August, ITV4 again at 11 PM is Tremors, which I do really love. There's not a massive choice on this week because obviously we've got the Olympics starting.
They're bringing back that in TV series for Tremors.
Yeah, but the film is it's a classic, great film. Yeah. It's witty. It's one of these ones. It's like, kind of the Gremlins comedy horror sort of thing.
Avoid the sequels though. The sequels are not very good.
Yeah, the second one has a bit of a charm to it, but yeah,
sort of.
Yeah. And the third one I'm choosing is Sunday the 7th of August on Channel 4, 6:15 PM, Monsters Inc., which is just the classic, one of the best Pixar animations, and at that kind of time anyone can watch it 'cause it's who it's for. But my TV movie of the week is on Saturday the 6th on Film 4. Is this one of the ones you picked?
Nope.
11:15 PM, and it's Trance, which is
Oh no! I didn't think much of Trance.
I
really
do think
like Danny Boyle's films, but I think Trance is his weakest one.
I think Trance is a very, very good film because it's a film that the first hour, and it's a film you've got to stick with it because you'll be tempted watching it at home to turn it off, because it is the first hour does seem like a mess. It really does seem like a mess, but then it gets to a certain point and things start to get explained, things start to make sense, and the reason why it's done in that way, and it works, I think, to a very good level of success. And I think it's very nicely handled. I do like it for that aspect of that it kind of sets up what looks like a complete and utter train wreck, and then it all sort of assembles it by the end, and I loved that about it. So that's my TV movie of the week. Trans.
And with you not mentioned the other one that I've got written down, it's going to be a difficult thing for me to choose my TV movie of the week, because I thought you would guarantee to get this one.
What is the other one you've written down then, so I can see?
Well, Super 8 on Channel 4, Saturday the 6th at 9 o'clock.
I saw it, but it's like you and me are very different on this. Super 8 is a film, as much as I like it, as much as I even have it, I can see it looking in my collection here, I don't love it. It's not a film that I'm just like, oh, it's amazing and thing. I just think it's a good film. It didn't grab me as it did you.
Oh, I absolutely loved Super 8. Really loved Super 8. It's J.J. Abrams doing a sort of like a Spielberg, and I think this is I think one of the best J.J. Abrams movies. I think Super 8. So my other film is Studio Ghibli related, because it's the premiere of the film. The Tale of Princess Kaguya is on Film 4 on Sunday the 7th at 4:50, so 10 to 5 in the afternoon. So you've just gone and put me on the spot, choosing Super 8 or the Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Now, I can't help you out there, because Super 8, as much as I do like it, again, not my TV movie of the week, and I still haven't seen Tale of Princess Kaguya.
God, it's like me having to throw a coin to find out which one am I going to go with. Super 8, because it's the Channel 4 premiere of it, and the Tale of Princess Kaguya, because it's the Film 4, and it's an absolutely gorgeous movie. Isao Takahata, his final film for Ghibli, and it's just absolutely sumptuous to watch. I'm going to go with Kaguya, the Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Surprise.
I adore Super 8 because it just reminds me of a child watching E.T. for the first time and watching Flight of the Navigator. It puts me in that kind of frame, and that was the only good thing that happened to me as a child. But because the Tale of Princess Kaguya is something that's never been seen before, the animation style, the last film I saw which had similar kind of strokes going out of Ghibli movies, is if you watch Waltzing with Bashir, or even if you look at their Belleville Rendezvous, it's got that kind of feel to it. But it's just to have an animated film that it's entirely hand-drawn, pencil-drawn and painted is just a miraculous thing in this day and age, and I want as many people to see it. So I would say the Tale of Princess Kaguya is my movie of the week on Film 4, Sunday the 7th at 10 to 5. What is your overall movie of the week, though?
Well, I'm going to do that thing where I pick one for DVD and one for cinema.
Okay.
And for cinema, it's going to be Jason Bourne. But for DVD, it's going to be Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, and definitely the Ultimate Edition, not the theatrical one, because it is a much better film. And I think it's one that fans of the films that have avoided it after seeing the theatrical version in the cinema should see the extended version, because it is a better film.
Yeah, the one big massive pat on the back I'll give them on that front is they could have just released the theatrical version now and re-released it as the Ultimate Edition a few months down the line, so try to get more money out of people, but they didn't do that. So well done for them not doing that. But my movie of the week is Finding Dory. Even though I've got a few tiny little problems, out of all the films, that's the one I had the least amount of problems with. So Finding Dory is my movie of the week, and that's it for this week's show. We will be back same time, hopefully, next Monday. Keep an eye out on the website. Yes, there was no post for this week's show on there because I've been stupidly busy, but I will make sure, even though I am stupidly busy this week as well, that a post will go up on Sunday with what we're actually reviewing on next week's show. Cinema section, it's Suicide Squad, and then Blu Ray DVD is a nice actually mixture of films. So keep an eye on the website, which is mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andrew's at EHDVD. Followingthenerd.com is where you can find the show also, as well as on Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, any other Android app which plays podcasts. Make sure you check out From Page to Screen. Stuart's got some posts going up on there, but he does not have a podcast coming out this month, even though I'm probably going to have to drag him on this show at the end of the month because Andrew's on holiday. Am I right?
Yep.
So yep, I will be dragging him on the show at the end of the month for that. And Following the Gamer, which is back this Saturday in all of its sweatastic form. So make sure you listen to that. That's on at 9 o'clock this Saturday with me, Al and Shane. So until next week, we'll play you out with a clip for a movie that's out in 2 weeks' time, which is just snuck up on everybody in a big, massive Dragon Kiss form, which I've not seen any publicity for it at all. It's the remake of Pete's Dragon. So until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Looking for something?
Oh, you scared me. Why aren't you asleep?
For the same reason you're not, I suppose.
I guess you heard about the boy.
I did. No word travels fast in this town. How long has he been out there?
6 years.
6 years? Nobody can survive in that forest for 6 years. At least not alone.
Well, he says he wasn't alone.
He drew this?
He says it's his friend from the forest. And it reminded me of...
I know what it reminded you of. That one?
How old was I when you drew this for me?